Hold on a second. Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. You can catch the Yarn Thing podcast live every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. That's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and 11 o'clock in the Midwest. If you are anywhere else in the world and would like to join us live for the podcast, please Google what time 10 o'clock Mountain Time is for you. I do live in Denver, Colorado, so you can come and join the fun. Better yet, just hit subscribe right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. And if you hit that little bell button, you should be notified whenever I go live or post a video right here on YouTube. So it's pretty seamless and pretty easy. We have lovely sponsors of the Yarn Thing podcast. Let's say thank you to them. And they include Creative Bug, Erin Lane Bags, Buffalo Wool Company, Stitches.events, and last but certainly not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. You can learn more about the sponsors by visiting the Marley Bird website and clicking on the drop-down menu for podcast, and there's a selection for sponsors. You can go check them out and say thank you for sponsoring your favorite podcast. So hello, everybody, and welcome back. We had a little break there for a while, and we're getting into the holiday month, so we're going to be a little bit sporadic with the podcast here. But hey, as long as you are subscribed and are part of the newsletter and part of the Facebook group, you'll always know whenever there is a live broadcast. Caitlin's doing a really great job with bringing some of the most wonderful guests in the industry right here on the show, and today is no exception. I have Jenny joining us from the Kraft Yarn Council, that elusive entity out there that everybody will point to whenever it's like, what weight is this? How do I do this? And everybody's like, go to the CYC. So we have somebody here representing the Kraft Yarn Council, and we're going to talk about a little bit of their most recent initiative and kind of get the lowdown of what's happening. So welcome, Jenny, to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Marley, for having me today. I appreciate it.
Sorry for the confusion there at the start. I was waiting for the broadcast to actually start.
That's okay. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, tell us a little bit about, who you are, your position at the Kraft Yarn Council, and just take it away.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Jenny Bessonette. I am Executive Director of the Kraft Yarn Council. I actually have been with the council since 2010. Originally started out working with Michael's stores on their knit and crochet classes when they started them up again in 2010 with the Kraft Yarn Council, and just have kind of grown with the company throughout the years. So 2 years ago, officially became Executive Director of the council. So I'm very excited to have an office here in Dallas, Texas, with some wonderful workers who work not only on Kraft Yarn Council, but Warm Up America every day.
Wow, that's a big plate right there. And for people who might not really understand what the Kraft Yarn Council is or what they do, why don't you kind of give them an idea? Like, let's get the elevator speech, so to speak.
Absolutely. So we are actually a nonprofit trade association, and we work with many different companies in the yarn industry who are our members. So for example, you mentioned Red Heart, they're one of our members. Lion Brand and Spinrite are the three main yarn companies. And we have also Creative Bug is one of our members as well. Boy, Leisure Arts, just to name a few. So we have 14 members that support the council and all of our initiatives. And we all just work together to raise awareness of yarn crafting, inspire current knitters and crocheters to do more, and bring new people in the craft. So we do lots of different programs, whether it's our educational program called Certified Instructors Program, where anyone that has basic skills wants to learn how to teach others, they can go through that program and gain everything that they need to pass their love of yarn crafting onto others. We also do I Love Yarn Day every October, and then Stitch Away Stress, which is in April every month. So that's just to name a few. And recently we just launched a Humans at Yarn campaign this fall, which is something that I'm going to talk about more in depth with you today, Marley.
That's so cool. It looks like we have a lady in the chat room area. And if I'm reading it correctly, her name is Jerry, and she says she just took your crochet teacher certification course. So apparently that is something that a lot of people are doing, which is great. You know, people are loving this. Can I just ask a quick question? Like, how did the Kraft Yarn Council come to be? Like, who created it? I'm just curious.
Well, it was before my time, but it was in 1981. I think that a group of yarn companies got together and just basically said, you know what, if we work together, even though we're competitors, we can just really make the industry grow, because the more resources you have working on the same things, the better it's going to be for everyone. And it's just kind of grown from there.
Perfect. I love that. Rising tide lifts all boats. So that's fantastic. All right. So Craft Yarn Day, which I love. I know that my former colleague Allison was a big part of that. And I love the Stitch Away Stress. Our friend Tweaking Chan did the lemon ball. It's just some fun things. So I'm excited to hear about It's Humans That Yarn, right? Is that how it says?
Yes, Humans That Yarn.
All right. Tell me more about that.
So one thing that we typically do as a council is we work together in the fall to come up with some sort of campaign, because, as fall hits, fall time, winter time, those are big knitting and crocheting seasons, right? As the weather gets colder.
Right.
So, last year we really pushed pom-poms and tassels because it was pretty trendy, fun, quick, and easy to do if somebody already knows how to knit or crochet, but also to bring new people into the craft. So we had a lot of fun patterns and promotional things around pom-poms and tassels. The year before that, we did super scarves, which were very large scarves that just really made a huge fashion statement. And then this time around, we thought, why don't we talk about the people that actually make all these yarn crafts and do something more like not necessarily promoting a specific project or specific item to be made, but the people that are doing all the things with yarn. And that's how Humans That Yarn was born. So it was really exciting because we decided to just open up the casting call. So all of our members promoted the casting call, we promoting the casting call. We had quite a few people fill out the application. We went through it here in the office and we interviewed people, whether it was in person or if it was on a Google Hangout. We really wanted to represent a wide variety of people in our campaign, and also a wide variety of crafts, not just knitting and crochet, but everything. Because we want people to see that knitting and crocheting may not be or yarn crafts may not be what you think it is. There's going to be people that are doing the craft that you would least expect, and they may be using yarn in ways that you've never even heard of or realized. And so we were able to narrow that down out of everyone that we interviewed. We interviewed about 20 people. We narrowed it down to 6 that we felt represented just a pretty good variety of different types of people, different backgrounds, male, female, and the different types of crafts. And so then at that point, we worked with a videographer, and we brought those people in over the course of about 2 or 3 days to interview them. And it was a lot of questions that we asked them. And we really wanted to get to know who they were, their story, and then also their yarn story as well. And so,
That's so great.
Yeah. So from that, once we interviewed them, we created one main video. So our main Humans That Yarn campaign video, that was 5 minutes long. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see it or not, but I encourage everyone to go see it, because it's pretty powerful. Just the different people that we interviewed, their different walks of life, whether we interviewed a male that was in the military. He learned to crochet in the military. It was Ted. We interviewed a young father who learned how to crochet from his grandmother, and then later learned how to knit as well. We interviewed someone who is in her 40s who has a mohawk that looks very young. She does yarn bombing. She does micro crochet, lots of different cool things. We interviewed a young girl that's actually a college student who loves to weave. We interviewed someone who's a young mom from Pennsylvania. She actually flew in from Pennsylvania to be a part of our video. And she spins and knits and crochets and does all kinds of neat things. We also interviewed an athlete. Someone may not necessarily think someone that's into roller derby or working out every day would be a knitter crocheter, but she absolutely loves to crochet. In fact, she's crocheting her wedding dress.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. So our main video highlights every single one of those people. And then we were able to, from there, create individual videos about each one of those people. So like for the athlete that's making her wedding dress, we have one video about that. We have a video about Ted and his time in the military. We have a video about Melanie and her, how she sees her value as a maker. So it touches upon many different types of things, that maybe someone else may be able to resonate with. Maybe, someone doesn't knit or crochet or do yarn crafting and they say, you know what, I really relate to that person and I want to give it a try. Or somebody that's already knitting and crocheting and they see another craft that they've never tried before and they're inspired to try it. So it was a pretty neat campaign, and the purpose of the campaign was because we just wanted to show the different types of yarn crafts, the variety of people that do them, and inspire people to do them, and really just break down those barriers of entry for the people that aren't already doing it.
That's so great. As you were doing out kind of this call of people and stuff, and people were talking to you about the way they use yarns, were there any that were like, oh man, that's a totally different way. I've never even thought of doing that. Or, I mean, because I think in my mind, when people think of the Craft Yarn Council, even though it's like craft and yarn, you'd think that it's not just knit and crochet. That's what we all tend to just primarily think of. So it's fascinating to me to learn about all the different ways you can use yarn. And it's one that like I'm trying really hard to think outside of my own box, I guess, because the makers movement is so big, and I'm like, how can I use my yarn and the yarn that I have to use it in different ways? Because I mean, instantly my brain always goes to either weaving, knitting, or crocheting. And my daughter the other day, she was like, Mom, I want to wrap this in yarn. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, it'll look cool. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And it's that thinking outside of the box thing that is always fascinating to me. So what did you find that was the most fascinating way to use yarn as you were talking to some of these people?
Well, I would definitely love to touch upon all different ways to use yarn, but one thing in particular that I really liked that I hadn't really seen necessarily up close and in person was with Hannah with her micro crochet. She
Okay.
creates these tiny little characters, and she's actually writing a book about these little characters. But she's made all these different little characters, and even like little ice cream cones and tacos, and just these cute little things. And I think with these tiny little needles and tiny little thread, that when I think of crochet, I think of, worsted weight yarn or thicker yarn. I'm not thinking of something really small with tiny little needles. And so
Right.
to me, that was really different. And I've never met anyone else that does anything like that. No one else that we interviewed or even applied for us did anything like that. Everyone knitted or crocheted or, several people yarn bombed or yarn dyed or yarn, did yarn spinning.
Yeah.
But to me, that was something that was neat and really stood out.
That's awesome. Somebody in the chat room right now, they are writing that the other day they saw somebody use yarn to make a wig for their cosplay costume. And I've seen that quite a bit. Like that, especially a couple years ago, it was the Elsa costumes. Everybody I knew was making an Elsa wig.
Oh,
Like that was,
yeah, that's awesome. And actually, Casey, our athlete that crochets, she also does cosplay and makes a lot of her own costumes as well. So yeah, that's absolutely true for sure.
that's so cool. So with the humans that yarn, you're really just trying to connect people with other like-minded people. Like for example, I could look at the guy who is the dad and say, you know what, even though I'm a mom, but I mean we have similarities, let's learn about this guy. Is that the goal?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Because these people are all, just interesting and relatable. You know, I would challenge anyone to watch the video and say that they didn't relate to somebody because they're going to relate to at least one person in the video. And we also, want to show that anybody can be a yarnist, a yarn artist. And so that's kind of what we were referring to our humans that yarn people in the video was as a yarnist, because if you're using yarn, you're an artist and you're a yarnist. So,
I love it. I love it. How about you yourself? What kind of things do you like to do with yarn?
well, I first learned how to knit when I used to work at Michael's corporate many, many years ago.
I would love to go there someday. Just kind of no total tangent, but I like every time I'm in Dallas, I'm like, man, I'd really like to go to Michael's and just go meet people.
Yeah,
Anyway, sorry, just one of those things.
so yeah, so and it's funny because I started working there when I was in my young 20s, and of course, I never thought about knitting or crocheting, but I worked in the yarn department. And I was a merchandise analyst, so I worked with the yarn buyer, and she would decide, what yarns were going to be in the store, but then I would determine how much needed to be stocked in the warehouse for the stores. And so I worked very closely with the vendors. And in fact, Lion Brand had sent me a Learn to Knit kit. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to learn how to knit. So I made a hat and a scarf, and I loved it. And so from there, I just challenged myself. I started knitting in the round, making my husband, because I was newly married, making him beanies. And, I would try the striping and the stripes would be off, based on his head. So I had to make a new one. So knitting definitely is my first love. And then later I learned how to crochet as well, but I always just fall back to knitting. The favorite thing that I've made was a little amigurumi monkey. I say little, it was actually kind of big. But all my kids have kind of played with it and grown up with it. So yeah, my first love is knitting for sure.
I understand that. So, with the Humans That Yarn campaign, how is it that we as humans that yarn can participate and be a part of it? Like, other than being encouraged by the stories, how else can we be a part of this? Because with the pom pom party, like we just made pom poms, and I remember making some pom poms and tagging Craft Yarn Council and doing some fun things. But what about the Humans That Yarn?
So first, I encourage everyone to go to humansthatyarn.com, visit our website. Not only are our videos there, but we also have Learn To videos, learn how to knit, learn how to crochet, that Creative Bug have done. And we also have patterns as well on there that our members have created specifically for Humans That Yarn. So there's some great information there. Also follow Craft Yarn Council on Facebook, Instagram, to go learn more. And kind of see the conversations that have been happening because of these videos. There's some great conversations that are happening on social media. So we just encourage them to share our post. Show someone that doesn't know how to knit or crochet one of the videos if you think, they might be interested in learning more about that person. Tell others why you knit or crochet or weave or yarn bomb or whatever it is that you do. And post pictures of it. Just really be active on social media and with your friends, encouraging them to try yarn craft, or if they already yarn craft, try something new.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm curious. I'm going to ask the chat room, how many of you, after listening to this and the Humans That Yarn, I know many of you are knitters and crocheters primarily. Are you inspired to try something else? Like I'm curious to hear from many of you. And just so that Jenny, I mean, we've got people here from New Zealand, France, Spain, California, which California, I am praying for you with all the fires. It's terrible. Our friend Heather Lee Walker actually lost her home out there. It was really sad. You guys remember Heather Lee on the podcast here. It's a terrible thing. Anyways, we have people literally from all over the world joining us. So as they are answering the question that I proposed of how are they going to yarn more or maybe go outside their box, obviously this is something that isn't just central to the United States. It is, I want to say universal, but it is universal. It's worldwide. In other countries, do you see that? I'm just curious. I'm curious. I mean, this is totally curious. In other countries, do you see that people are just as open about their knitting and crocheting as they are here in America? Like, I feel like there's this like resurgence over the last 10 years in America where it's very much like, I don't know, like your freak flag fly sort of thing, like if you're a knitter or crochet, you don't just have to do it at home. You can go out, you can do this out in public, it's just the I love yarn day. And I'm assuming that in other countries, hopefully it's the same and they can very much be like, yes, I'm a human that yarns as well. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's a question you can't answer. I'm just curious.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because we were talking about a certified instructors program earlier, and that is really primarily for the United States and Canada. However, we have had a few people from other parts of the world that want to go through the program. Well, we are able to do it in some cases if they're able to meet certain requirements. And so the ones that have, it's really interesting, but the ones that we have worked with that have been in other countries, their work has been like perfect. And I'm not kidding, like it's amazing.
Yeah.
So we hear from, I don't know if you're familiar with Edie Ekman, you probably know.
Oh, she's one of my best. I love her.
We love her. So she's one of
her
our master teachers, and she's the one that actually works with anyone that we work with outside of the United States. And so, when you impress Edie, that you're doing a good job. And
absolutely.
So, it's just been interesting. So I definitely feel like it translates, all over the world. And
Yeah.
then also on our social media, we have received either comments or people using the hashtag in Sweden, France, UK, Australia, and just more. So definitely
Fantastic.
our campaign is going worldwide, which is
Fantastic. I love that. I love that it's bringing the world together. I feel like we need more of that in our times right now. Like we need more bringing together, and I love that Yarn is doing that. So we're getting some comments over here, so I want to make sure I'm reading them. So we have Jerry who says she does, I don't know, it's a she, yeah, a bobbin lace and tatting, which I have always been fascinated with. I've never been able to do. Honey Bear says she folds laundry. I'm sorry. Awesome. That's funny. Das Box Mom, it says, I recently purchased a bunch of plastic canvas cross shapes and yarn and needles from Amazon. And I plan to have my CCD, her Sunday school class, weave yarn into them to make bookmarks for nursing home residents. So that's cool. Cheryl Clark says, I've learned to spin and dye the yarn. Plus, she already knits and crochets and does macrame. That's one that's big right now.
that is
Um,
good, absolutely.
Macrame is huge.
And,
She
and
says, I do a lot of this during Mountain Men reenactment, which is from 1815 to 1840 time period. Ooh, that's fascinating. Different, right?
so macrame, actually, I don't know if you know, but there's over 50 different types of knots.
I did not know that.
Yes, which is, and I mean, I know that that was popular like back in the day, but like you said, it is definitely, there's been a resurgence.
Absolutely.
So
It's
I don't know.
crazy.
Do you know that like basically it's just done by hand, just making knots? I mean,
Yeah.
that's all it is. So
But
it's
it's gorgeous.
yeah,
It's so pretty. I went to one of my best friends, Ann Burke. I went to her, one of her vacation homes, and on the wall, and I'm not even exaggerating, there's like this 8 foot by 8 foot macrame piece, like on the, it would be like on a 2 story sort of wall thing. And I walked in and I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh. And I found out that her husband's sisters made that for him way
wow.
back like in the 70s, and he still had it, and
And
so they put it up in the home there, and it's like one of the most beautiful things ever. It's made out of jute. I mean, it is gorgeous, but I'm just like,
wow.
those are just a bunch of knots, which at the end of the day, that's what crochet is, and knitting's just loops through loops. Like it's fascinating to me. But macrame, I'm just like, that's pretty neat. Let's see here. What else? We have a couple people that are saying they're inspired. They want to knit socks and do deep and use DPNs because that's something they haven't done before. Chris Lopez says she's trying to do some Bargello. I think that's where you take two different color or the same colorway and you offset them. Um,
I know.
I'm not pronouncing it or not explaining it very well. I'll have to explain it in a future video sometime. Let's see here. People said that they love just craft night in general with some of their church ladies, and the pom pom party sounds like fun. So it looks like we're going to research some of that stuff. But it looks like many people out here are, if they haven't already ventured into other things besides knitting and crochet, they are wanting to. Let's see here. Michelle Simmons says, I started to crochet in college, and then she taught herself how to loom and needle knit over the last year. And she always goes back to crochet, but she loves learning the new things. That's something else that's really big, is the loom knitting, because there are so many people who just, for whatever reason, they can't finagle either the crochet hook or knitting needles in general, but loom knitting really speaks to them. I have a friend who does a lot of loom knitting videos here on YouTube called Good Knit Kisses. And the stories that she will share with me, where it's either people who have lost eyesight completely, who have lost different mobility parts, and they're able to loom knit. And it's just like this, cathartic sort of thing, just like knitting and crocheting in general is for many people. We also have people saying that they do embroidery, jewelry, cross stitch. So it's all over the board. So it seems like you've hit the mark here with humans who, woo, that's hard. Humans that yarn. There you go. There you go. It's pretty neat. What's the response been so far? I guess it just recently launched, but is it like, okay, this is really great. This is encouraging.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we launched it in September, and it's been interesting just to see. I think Drs, one of our males, he actually was interviewed by the Dallas Morning News here locally, just because I think when you see just any type of male doing yarn crafts, it makes people excited, and I think just he and Ted both getting themselves out there. I think maybe more males are able to be like, you know what, they're getting themselves out there to let everyone know that what they're doing, and I'm going to do the same. And so Diaris's story was interesting because he had an Instagram account, and he was posting things that he was making on there, but he didn't never wanted to show his face. So he
Oh.
said, people might just think I'm just a grandmother, just making these posts. And his wife said, why don't you just tell everybody who you are? And he finally did. And so, for him to, do that, and now look where he is today, we just encourage everyone, to share your love of yarn crafting. And I know we've had over 3,700 posts using the hashtag humans that yarn. So it's been a very good campaign for us. Just working with the yarnists, just getting to know them, and just seeing their love of yarn grow just from, doing the interviews with us and being a part of the videos. It's just been very neat. And one thing I wanted to point out, as we're talking about the different types of yarn, your listeners have definitely mentioned quite a few different ones. We did some research last year, and we found out that 48% of non-knitters and crocheters, so this is people that don't knit or crochet, are actually using yarn. So if you know somebody that doesn't knit or crochet, more than likely, half of them are actually using yarn for something. And so, and I think it could be, like you're talking about, someone making, the bookmarks, or, doing the loom. Like my kids, that's easy for them to learn how to do. When maybe knit or crochet, they weren't ready for it yet. I taught them how to, do a hat on the loom, and they loved it. That type of thing, weaving. I don't know if any of your listeners are into weaving, but one of our yarnists is a weaver, and she's making some beautiful wall hangings, either for herself, for her family, or for her friends. And it's just something special, for her to make for them. Also, something that's kind of trendy right now is punch needle. Have you
Yes.
needle yet?
Yes. I had, oh gosh, now that her name just totally escapes me. I had a guest on the show who's a big punch needle person, and she did like a demonstration. It's like the coolest thing ever. Like I totally want to do it.
That's awesome. Yes. So that's something that's quick and easy. And, you can basically just make whatever you want, just like use different colors. And it's almost like coloring with yarn.
Yeah.
You're able to do that with punch needle. So those are some fun things. Latch hooking is another one, and rug hooking. Those are both two that, use yarn. Latch hooking, a little bit smaller. Rug hooking, kind of a larger thing to make. And then, of course, yarn bombing and spinning and yarn dyeing, as you mentioned earlier.
I love it. I love it. So many wonderful things. This is so wonderful. I love that this is something that you guys are out there encouraging, so many other people to use yarn in general. Because once again, more people using yarn, it's better for all of us as a community, for creativity wise, for let's just be honest, having more products come out from the stores and stuff, because the more we use it, people want to supply us with it. So it's really a great thing for all of us around. And I know that you have a prize to give away to a live listener, and one for somebody who leaves a comment on the show notes. So I'm going to let you tell people what they could win for listening live. But before you do, everybody who is listening live right now, it is 10:42 a.m. on Tuesday morning. What is today? Today's the 13th. I don't even know what today is. I know, Tuesday, November 13th. If you are listening live right now, I want you to write humans that yarn in your comment on in the chat, and I'll randomly select a winner from there to win a lovely prize. And Jenny, do you want to tell them what they could win?
Yes, so we have a Red Heart yarn bowl for one winner. And for the comment winner, we are doing a yarn and tool package.
All right, cool.
Here's the bowl.
Perfect. So the bowl is what we will give away here live on air. So I'm going to give them a little bit of time to make sure they're writing. Everybody is writing everything right now. It's pretty crazy. It's funny to me because that usually during the podcast, like the chat, like there's a comment every now and again, and then it's this point, it's like this. It's pretty intense. While they are doing that, what are some of the things that the Kraft Yarn Council has coming up, maybe before the end of the year? Is there anything special happening?
So actually, yes. So I mentioned Warm Up America earlier. Warm Up America is our charity that we support, and we have volunteers all over the nation and other parts of the world that send us hats, scarves, blankets, 7 by 9 inch sections, just anything that you think that someone could use to keep warm. We have volunteers that connect the 7 by 9 inch sections into larger, either like a lap blanket or child blanket or a regular blanket. We have a lot of different campaigns going on. Tiny Hats campaign, where we're collecting tiny hats for newborns. We're working with University of Southern California on that, and they're going to ship them to some other parts of the world that are in need of those to help the babies as they're born there. And also we have Made with Love coming up in January. And so we've done that for the past several years, where we go out to either like a lower income area or a homeless area, and we hang up either hats and scarves or give them to them to help them stay warm. And we're encouraging people all over now to do that as well. So if anyone is interested in holding their own Made with Love event, they can email us and let us know. They can go to our website, either craftyarncouncil.com or warmupamerica.org, and contact us that way and let us know that they're interested, and we can get you in touch with April, who's our Warm Up America coordinator. So that's some things that we have coming up there. We're actually going to be at Creativation in January with a booth in the Yarn Pavilion. So we're really excited about that. And then, next April is Stress Awareness Month. So, Stress Awareness Month. And so, we're just kind of getting ready for the holidays. We have our annual meeting coming up May of next year. We'll come up with some new and exciting things to do next fall.
Awesome. I love that. One day I want to go to one of those meetings. I keep telling Red Heart, like, I want to go.
We need you there. That'd be great.
I think it'd be awesome. Just a little different vibe, different view, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? All right. So there's so many people that have written in. And so I'm scrolling up to the top, and then I'm scrolling back down. I'm going to keep scrolling. When you tell me to stop, that will be the lucky winner.
Are you scrolling?
I am.
Stop.
All right, I stopped. And all right, so my cursor is on, I think you pronounce it Thaddeus Bostock, Thadis Bostock. They wrote, humans that yarn are great. So that's what, so congratulations. I don't know if it's Thaddeus or that. I want to pronounce it Thaddeus, but it's Thadis. So I don't know. So congratulations. That is the lucky winner. I need you to please email me. Let me get this view on me. So I need it to email me, winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. I'm going to write that into the chat right here so that way you can see that. And I'm assuming you need their mailing address and phone number.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we get that sent off. And then don't forget, you guys, if you are not Thaddeus, then you still have a chance to win. You just need to go to the show notes. I've already provided the link to that in the video description box of this video. Go there. You'll find links to different things we talked about today. And at the bottom of the page, you'll see where you can leave a comment. You want to leave a comment with a keyword that will enter you for a chance to win the other prize package. So, Jenny, what should their keyword be?
Oh,
I know.
Can you do hashtag humans at yarn, or is that too confusing?
No, you could do. Sorry, the camera was flipping back and forth.
Hashtag humans at yarn.
Yeah, you could totally do that. Hashtag humans that yarn. Perfect. Yeah, that works. So make sure you guys include that. Let me write this. If I don't write winner at yarnthingpodcast.com. Do you ever do like I lose my train of thought? I'm like, if I don't type this out, I'm never gonna get this done. All right, so on the show notes, you want to make sure that you use hashtag humans that yarn, and that'll be your essentially golden ticket to prove that you watched the show today, and that will enter you for a chance to win. We will select a winner before the end of the year. We are going to change it up next season on the podcast, just for those of you who have listened for a long time. Instead of choosing a winner every 6 to 8 weeks, we are going to choose a winner every week. And Caitlin's going to do that on her own to make sure that the prizes are going out like this much more often. With the schedule changes on my side of things, it's too hard to do it at every podcast. So we're going to make sure that people can get in there and get the prizes. That's just a side note to those of you who are listeners out there. So there you go. Hashtag humans that yarn. And there you have it. Jenny, I enjoyed today's podcast. Thank you so much.
I did too. Thank you so much. And I appreciate everyone listening in today as well.
It's pretty cool. Now, if they have questions about Warm Up America or anything along those lines of how they can donate, that information is on the websites, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, everybody else, thank you so much for listening in today. I hope that you are a human that yarns and you enjoy the Yarn Thing podcast. Be sure to share it with your friends. Sharing is caring, everybody. And as you watch the videos here on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, and let me know how I'm doing. All right. I will talk to you guys again soon. I'm Marley Bird, proud national spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns, and this is the Yarn Thing podcast. Bye.